Your Excellency, the High Commissioner of India to Nigeria, the CEO of Air Peace Airlines, and all the distinguished ladies and gentlemen present there on this very auspicious occasion as we gather to celebrate and commemorate the 150th birth anniversary of India's most revered statesman, the foremost nationalist, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, popularly known as Mahatma Gandhi, a great patriot who austerely lived his life in the service of his people and humanity. And should be recalled that no less a person than the great Albert Einstein said of Mahatma Gandhi that in years to come, hardly anyone would believe that such a person walked the face of this earth. He was that remarkable. And of course, the life of the Mahatma is one that has immensely and positively impacted the world. And he's bequeathed mankind with an eternal legacy of righteousness, courage, and resilience, among others. He had these three, I'll call it almost pillars to his philosophy: Satyagraha, Sannyasa, Ahimsa. And, Satyagraha was to holding on to the truth. And I remember as a young man, I read Gandhi's amazing autobiography, My Experiments with Truth. I don't know if the book is still in publication, but it was something he wrote actually even before he had become that famous, showing that you have to work on the inner self, and once he achieved that level of spirituality within himself, he was of course able to then share that with the world. And Satyagraha was one of the fundamental principles of his. And then, sannyasa, renunciation. And, we saw that he was very austere. He renounced so many of these worldly things, and really sought for as he put it, the Spirit of God, which is within each and every single one of us. And then, of course, ahimsa, the non-violence, renunciation of any harm to any being, which again was, of course, a fundamental principle of his that he put into practice. He is a man a humble man who rose to prominence by dint of hard work. As a lawyer, he deployed his legal services in defense of justice, which inspired his nationalist engagements in service of the people of India. And, when he died, I remember the picture of all he left, was his sort of glasses and his prayer book and beads and nothing else. He renounced earthly possessions. And of course, we all know that how he dressed with his walking stick. And, and I remember, I read because of that, Churchill, when he went to London, Mahatma Gandhi dressed just, a simple person. And, Churchill said of him that it was unacceptable to have a half-naked fakir coming to dialogue with the emperor, a king of England and the Commonwealth. But he prevailed, with his humility and very simple mode of attire. He moved the world, and he moved that empire and shook that very empire that Churchill felt that the leader of that empire had no business dialoguing with what he termed as a half-naked fakir. And he was, of course, a man of the people who identified with the poor and the vulnerable, as evidenced by his adoption of the dhoti as his attire that I've talked about, and living modestly. And of course, he was fondly called Bupa, Bapu, an endearing word for father. And a very slight man in build, looked very fragile, but full of real strength. And of course, we know that during the demonstrations that he led, salt marches and so forth across India, he could walk hundreds of miles. And, with that frail body of his, and then he would fast for days and days on end, and put his body through all kinds of rigor. Of course, his morality and his humility and empathy were his guiding principle, his north star in his struggle against oppression and injustice. And history and posterity will always remember his adoption of the nonviolent resistance in his nationalist struggles against the social ills of his time. And of course, promoting and mainstreaming civil rights for all his compatriots. And as was mentioned by the CEO of Air Peace Airlines, this was embraced and adopted by Martin Luther King in his civil rights leadership of the civil rights movement in the United States, and even, of course, also by, the great Mandela in South Africa, where again, as we've heard, the Mahatma spent a lot of some of his formative years. And peaceful approach, and his peaceful approach was so impactful, and became the model, the standard for all those who are fighting for justice around the world, and which proved itself to be so worthy of emulation that the UN, of course, in 2007, designated this day, the 2nd of October of every year, as International Day of Nonviolence in honor of the Mahatma. And so as we celebrate the life of Mahatma, I'd also like to note with great satisfaction the robust and mutually beneficial bilateral relations between Nigeria and India. Both our countries have long economic and socio-cultural ties, and this dates back to the 60s and before. And India has championed very much our fight again here for independence. And Pandit Nehru, the then Prime Minister of India, was one of the first world leaders to visit Nigeria and to express solidarity with our fledgling independent country. And of course, yesterday we celebrated that independence, 60 years of it. And our trade partnership also is something that is moving. India is our largest trading partner now, and it's been mutually of interest to both our countries. And we value greatly the friendship that we have with India and the peoples of India. And the people-to-people relations has been something that has been ongoing for so many years. A lot of Indians have been established here in Nigeria, and also a lot of Nigerians go to India. And of course, India has evolved into a model for development, for developing countries. And we have seen the great strides that they have made in so many different spheres. And it's probably the #1 destination for medical tourism from Nigeria, and a country that has proved itself in so many areas, information, ICT, information and communications technology. It's gone to space, and very vibrant space program. So it's a country that we admire enormously, and seek to follow their developmental path. And I'd also like to mention with appreciation the $120 million line of credit that was given to India to assist in our defense industry and in the fight against terrorism. And this shows again the great solidarity between our two countries. So as we mark the 150th birth anniversary of this great Indian nationalist, as well as the International Day of Nonviolence, it's our hope that the nonviolent approach will consistently be the preferred method for the resolution of national and international conflicts. The world clearly needs more peace and less violence, and we owe a great debt of gratitude to the Mahatma, because he showed that the peace and non-violence is a very potent weapon to secure peace, and that it does not necessarily have to be, an eye for an eye, which, of course, as he said, makes everybody blind. But that peace and non-violence is a great weapon, actually, as we have seen in the U.S. With Martin Luther King, and South Africa with Madiba, Nelson Mandela. So it's with on this optimistic note that I, on behalf of the federal government of Nigeria, give 150 happy cheers to all Indians around the world, congratulating India and humanity on this on this wonderful occasion, and wish you all happy International Day of Non-Violence. Thank you very much indeed.